If you're not calculating the ROI on your property investments, then you must be fucking stupid, because the amount of people that come to me about property and they say, oh Jason, I've just bought my first buy to let. Oh great, so what's your return on investment? And they look at me like I'm stupid and they don't know how to answer it. If you're getting into property, if you want to buy to let properties or build a portfolio, please understand what return on investment is and understand how you can calculate it. Because it's no point investing in something, whether it be property, stocks and shares, or even just putting your money in the bank, because if you don't know what your return on investment is, how can you compare it to other investments? How can you sum up if it's a good investment financially, or not just financially, but is it a good investment in terms of the time and effort you have to put in? Now, if you bought a property and your return on investment is, say, 9%, then you've got to think to yourself, is it really worth it? Because with property comes the hassle and mither of dealing with solicitors, tenants, all of the necessary things that you have to conform to, such as gas certificates, electric certificates, the upkeep of the house. So you need to determine if your level of return on investment is worth the effort compared to other things that you could invest in. Now for me, if I calculated a property to give me a return on investment of 9%, I'd be sitting there thinking to myself, I could probably invest this money into something else where it require a lot less effort and give me similar or just below those returns. Now if you said to me, here's a property and the return on investment is 17%, I may sit there and think to myself, yes, this is a good deal, it's worth the extra effort, it's worth investing my time into, but without this figure, how can you possibly calculate or judge if it's a good investment compared to something else? You just can't, simple as that. And so many people get into property without knowing the return on investment. So if you're one of those people, or you're only just starting out, please bear in mind that this is a very, very important figure. And it's not something that you should just work out once. You should track this year on year, because it will change. Now I'm going to show you how to calculate ROI very quickly. Now return on investment is how much profit you make during a year compared to the amount of money that you initially put in. Now if you bought a property, let's say it's £100,000 for example, and you've had to put £30,000 of your own money in for deposits, solicitors' fees and things like that. And if that property makes you £3,000 per year in income, then your return on investment is 10%. Okay? Simple. So to do this simple calculation, you basically take your net profit over the year, you divide this by how much money you initially put in, and then you times it by 100. So in this example, we'll put in £3,000. That's how much profit we make per year. So this is a net profit, by the way. So this is what you're left with after paying your mortgage costs and bills, upkeep and other things like that. We now divide this by the initial investment that we made. So in our case, we put £30,000 of our own money in, divided by £30,000. Then times this by 100, and that gives us a figure of 10. So that means our return on investment is 10%. It's quick, it's easy, and it's a very good indication to whether the property is going to be a viable investment or not. Now with this calculation, we're only taking into account the cash flow side of the return on investment. So what I mean by this is, we're only taking into account what that property is going to earn us per year in income, okay? We're not taking into account capital appreciation. Now capital appreciation will change year on year. Some years your property may increase by 10,000, some years it may only increase by 2,000 or 3,000, and obviously some years it may drop. So when calculating your ROI, don't take into account the capital appreciation. You should only take into account the earnings, the cash flow, the money that you're going to earn on a yearly basis. Obviously if you want to do two separate ROIs, then you can, but you can only do this after, because you don't know what the market's going to do. You don't know if your property is going to increase by £10,000 or decrease by £10,000. So this is something I like to do at the end of each year. I'll just calculate exactly what my return has been during that year. So that will be capital appreciation added to my cash flow. So if you're now wondering what is a good return on investment, for me personally, I don't look at anything less than 12% on property, because as I said, with property comes the hassle and the mither and the work. Whereas if you invest in stocks and shares into a company, it literally takes you 10 minutes and you don't have to think about it or act on it again. Now, if you want an investment that gives you a return of 5, 6, 7%, you may as well put your money into a REIT, where that pays you usually quarterly dividends or yearly dividends. But as you can quite clearly see, your return on investment is nowhere near as high as it is on property. Now, here's the key And here's the reason why I choose property over most other investments. Going back to the example with the £100,000 property, we only had to put in £30,000 of our own money, and we are now able to control an asset that is worth £100,000. Now this is the key to property, and this is why we can leverage our money and we can earn bigger return on our investments, because we are leveraging the bank's money. So we put £30,000 in, we get an asset for £100,000. Now if that asset increases by 10%, that is 10% of the 100,000 figure, not the 30 that we initially put in. So this is one of the main benefits of property. It's one of the reasons that a lot of people get into property, because of the long-term capital appreciation. Whereas if you invested your £30,000 into a stock and that paid 5%, yes, there is a chance of the stock rising in value, but if it goes up 10%, then it's only 10% of the 30,000 that you put in. Whereas if your £100,000 property goes up by 10%, that's 10% of the 100,000, not just 30 that you put in. So there you have it, a very quick example of return on investment and just an insight as to why it's so important. So when you are evaluating a possible deal, always compare it to other investments. Compare not just the percentage, not just the profit, but compare the effort and time that has to go into that. Like, you wouldn't buy a property with a return on investment of 10% if you could get 8% on a stock. So you need to weigh that up. Whereas if you were getting 16, 17, 20% on a property, then yes, it's going to be worth your time and effort. Well, I'm Jason. Hope you enjoyed the quick video. For anyone interested in property, please keep an eye out for J9 Property. This is my latest venture. You can also follow me on Instagram. And I'm also going to be offering a load of free information. So make sure you check that out, and I'll catch you soon.